Hey there, Joy of the World friends and family. This is Joy with Joy of the World, here to take an intuitive peek into the energies going on around you. And more specifically, we're going to talk about this Mercury retrograde and pick up a little mini read here to see some juicy energy of what is going on in this last transition turning point. I remember previously, last week, I think, they were already starting to talk about this slide, kind of like Chutes and Ladders, saying that once this retrograde turns, we are already slipping and sliding, not like goosing around like that, but really easing on into like Cinderella in the glass slipper, easing on into the new 200 years of air. There's a reason COVID came about, because it unplugged the whole world. How do you reboot a system? You unplug it. Well, irregardless of how it impacted your business, your life, your world, even if on the inside everything still looks fine, the world has changed in the environment around you. So there is a rebooting of sorts that no one had power or control over. Don't get into that extra stuff, because we all know, okay? So we're not going there. We're just talking about the system coming about, right? And so things have been hovering and moving about in the air, and the planets have still continued to spin because they are under the control of no one. But they want us to begin to work in conjunction with them, to understand them and to speak their language, not just the language of the stars, the language of the heart. And that's how the planets like to try and communicate with me. I didn't know when I started this channel that it was going to be planetary joy, cosmic joy. I had no idea. But irregardless, they want me to tell you a little bit preface, first of all, about general Mercury retrograde. Now, the thing is when it goes retrograde, we talk about shakeups or technology issues or things like that. Well, we forget that once upon a time a potato peeler was revolutionary. It was technology, right? Or a car coming about, or maybe a contact lens or eyeglasses for people. Those were all forms of technology, of progression, right? Of something coming along as a tool and assistance on demand. But we don't see those things falling out. And I can remember witnessing it and going, well, I'm not going to play into this Mercury retrograde theorem that other people are pushing out and putting forward, because it was rocking my world and rocking people that I care about and hurting them immensely. And I just wasn't going to play into that. So I started to think and listen and get quiet and watch it cycle in and out over the years. And I was like, okay, talk. And that's the thing. When you ask, they will. And so Mercury began to let me know that it's like, I'm right here. You don't have to accept that. You don't have to receive that. The moment we begin to reconnect in this shift of the energy, we tune our streams. And if you ever tune into Joy of the World, and if you haven't, I invite you to come back and join us. But if you have, you understand where I mentioned tuning up the streams. The streams have to do with, like, if you look at your chart, there are those little lines going all across through the middle. Well, those are oppositions, squares, things like that. Well, they're streams, they're symphonies, they're orchestras, they're things orchestrated to make your life harmonized, to make it really leverage itself and give you the advantage, and you offer yourself your own advantage in life to be able to be beautiful, bold, and bright, and the person that who you are and who you divined yourself to be on the other side when everything was being created, when you were being crafted and created and honed into this shoot in time, this point in time to land. So Mercury's coming in to say, don't let it ruffle your feathers. The moment you start feeling the couple of little blips and bops, start to adjust then and go, okay, ooh, okay, all right. And don't just take it for what it is. But he's gave me this picture to think about, like a guitarist on stage, right? You'll see them if you've ever been at a live performance. They'll bring out a different guitar in between songs. And it's because they're playing so hard that the strings lose their tune, right? So Mercury said for you to understand is when you're playing and you're living life and you're moving about, when something goes to make a turn like that, it's like playing a hard set, that the strings need to be retuned, fine-tuned. So it's just that moment when the energy begins to kick back and alter and change, whether you're someone who feels the vibration the 2 to 3 weeks before in the shadow phase of any of the retrogrades, okay? Not just Mercury. But to go ahead and tune yourself and attune to it, because anything you want to know more intimately, you do tend to lean into. Don't draw back from it. These aren't scary things. There isn't negativity or bad things, but often in a retrograde, they're doomed as such, right? And they're deemed as such, just like darkness and good and bad and evil, and it's all that polarization. And that's fine. Somebody else might have expertise in that. I don't, because my life would not operate in that. Matter of fact, the sky was falling, Henny Penny was screaming and crying and running around, and all hell was breaking loose, and it was like nevermore. So that's the thing, is that my life story was to begin to tell me is, okay, so what is there? What are you trying to say? And at that moment, that's when all this information began to come towards me. And I was like, okay, so just tune my streams. Tune in, lean in, and ask, what advice are you offering me this time? How are you helping me through this time? What are we adapting and adjusting to? What's the energy phase that we're moving into? Because like I remember when my sons used to talk about, you could step tune, like tune up, tune down, drop G, I don't even know what all those things are, but you could alter the way in which you tuned it. So now to step into our Mercury mini read. Oh, I need to back up for just a second. So to understand this Mercury retrograde from October 13th through November 3rd, they're talking about being in the energy of a neutron star. And I was like, huh? What? Okay, well, so a neutron star is often, it's an energy from an implosion of a giant supernova or something like that, bigger than our sun exploding, and there's this little ball of energy still moving around. Well, that's kind of like the neutron star. And so Mercury is operating in that synergy and in that energy right now. And the thing to know that is so important is the magnetic field of it is so amazing right now that it's 100 billion times that of the sun. So look at where Mercury is in your chart, okay? And you could take a look at one of those readings for this week of Mercury, because Mercury seems to be showing up throughout the reads, and finding out what it is to pivot and position yourself to tune your streams, to be harmonic, to be symphonic, to come along and to synergize with the energies that are coming your way, and to not be locked out and trapped out and left behind and trying to, live with hindsight instead of foresight. That's the thing, is they're here for us. So you want you to know that, and also know that when they collide, they produce precious metals, heavy metals like gold and platinum. So in this collision, this face-to-face meeting of yourself, of meeting of your own Mercury, of embracing your gift of communication, of communion, of community, of your way of thinking, not just externally but internally, your congruency, those type of things, your integrity, which you can find out about many of the Scorpio reads here at the Joy to the World channel, and lining up into your I amness and going, okay, I am the sun, I am this star, my Mercury is my voice. It's what house does it fall in? What sign does it fall in? And how do I move forward in my voice? How do I feel comfortable being myself and expressing myself? Not everybody is it through speaking. The way we move about, the way we dress ourselves is a form of speech, right? Our example is a form of speech, okay? So it's thinking of it along those sort of lines. Okay, so that's just a little background for this one right now. And you can set your clock to it, baby, because this one is pulsing like a pulsar. There's a pulsing neutron star coming about. And scientists and researchers are considering using it to be a form of timekeeping in navigation when there's outer space travel going on. So you can count on me, is what Mercury was saying. Well, I thought I would I thought I'd rifle through here on camera, but the shuffling was already going on because I clean them up before we start to save yourself the noise and the time. And these things were coming on out, and they're like, nah, here we are, Joy. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll just read them when we get on camera. I haven't looked and know what's going on, but this one card that piggybacked over this week is sitting here. It left its own deck and is sitting here. The deck's not even up at this table. It came all on its own. So it's talking about know yourself, know your mind, get to know what's going on in here, and become whole-minded, because this isn't just about the polarizations of black or white, right or wrong, good or bad, light or dark, like we were discussing a few moments ago. It's coming into the whole of yourself, that you're not being played for or against yourself anymore, and therefore you're not playing anyone for or against themselves. You're not having to choose teams, choose sides. You can still root for whatever team you want to in sports, but you get what I'm saying on the personal front, right? One-to-one, human to human, right? The one human race, okay? So this breaks down those dividing lines, because there isn't a dividing line right here. There isn't that corpus callosum that is this membrane that separates the halves of the brain and only stays open in the few areas that we use often. Instead, we want to use our whole self to avail that technology, that energy and efficiency to our body, to our world, to us, okay, to afford heaven, to come down here on earth. But it's also showing me, because it's not just a flat disc, right? It is a sphere. So in that sphere, it's also backing up to talk about things that have shown up in this channel before about our unconscious, our subconscious, and our conscious mind becoming whole, and being able to see things exactly as they are, being able to see ourselves exactly as we are, walking in our truth and aligning in our truth. And it's not, and because they brought up Scorpio in the eyes lining up through the center, it has to do with our I amness. Amness is a step beyond being, because being takes an element of consciousness, an element of choosing, an element of moving through those layers to where, like if you're born speaking a certain language, like that's your language of origin, you don't have to think about where it's coming from. And I have a friend who, she calls herself a Hungarican, right? She lived in Hungary for 20 years and now has been in America for 20 years. And so people say, well, do you still translate? And she said, no, I even dream in English. And it's because her mind has become whole-minded. It accepts it. That's what I amness is like, is when you are coming from it. You're not having to choose it or weigh it out or sort or sift it. And that's this whole-mindedness that Mercury really wants to put his finger on to talk about here. Now, this week, this deck, I caught the Black Pitman, okay, and you can see why. Let's take a close look at the back of the card. There's a lot going on here, a lot of life, a lot of living. Yes, life is still here for us. It is ready to move forward into this new state of air, okay? But these come out on special occasions because they really want to talk. And now they have a quick message for us, and it's about love or money. Love or money. You're going to have love or money, or love potion of resources, of productivity, of creativity, of harnessing of oneself, of connectivity, those type of things. And it's not about choosing either or. It's about knowing the and, the wholeness, right? The connectivity, about being whole-brained and not having to think that you have to live like this, okay? Not the pinging and the ponging, which is good for me and which is bad for me. You're living and moving from the heart. Remember that we were talking about that in the beginning when we were talking about Mercury and Mercury retrograde. So that's what Mercury wants us to remember. And here, this love is coming in to carry you away, and not far, far away to some crazy land or whatever else, but straight into home, into that, dropping you into the space of the heart. It was like set for this moment in time for the facilitation to come along. And like in sign language, this means to go together. So you go together like peas and carrots, baby, or succotash, some corn and lima beans, whatever you like, ice cream and syrup. I don't even know. That's not for me to know. But this is you being carried off to passion, to love, to fulfillment, to pleasure, to being, and the truth of it, the living of it, the actuality of it, bringing that truth, that heaven down here on earth and merging the two together. And that begins to awaken this love potion. It ain't number 9, it's love potion number 5. It's number 5 with me, fine with you. This is fine, you fine, I'm fine, we all fine. Come on up here and let's have a good time. And that's what you and your lover are coming into, and it's overriding the structure and the form of the black, and then the white, which is the like the sheathing in, like when they dry in a house. And this is being able to color your world when you begin to pick the paint colors for the house, or the roof tiling, or the style of the windows. And then you eventually get at that totally closed in. You begin to decorate and design your house for the comfort and the living and the way your personality and proclivities are. That's very much an illustration of joy. Like love is the formation. It's these building blocks over here. It's these poles that begin to help us learn things about ourselves, about who we are and how it comes about. Like not just who I am, but how I go about living. It's the style in which I live. It's the way in which I move. It's the way in which I breathe. That's what this has to do. It starts to bring in this color on top of it. The joy. The joy is what colors the form, all right? It's personal. Where love is universal, joy is personal. So that's trying to squeeze right up next to your moon, trying to get in there and swoon with your moon, baby, your whole mind. But love's got you feeling fine, and that's the thing. Here's the final card of this Black Pitman coming in. And even though it is the 2 of diamonds, you see 3 forms out here. Okay, you see pairing here and you see the 3. You get to choose. You get to choose what your birds of a feather flocking together looks like. You get to choose if you sink or if you swim. Are you going to receive and believe that life is ready to be good to you? That our world is a world that's beautiful and magnificent and full of color? Are you going to see the beauty and the life and the things going on around you? Are you going to notice what's going right, what's working for you? Are you going to wait to see that when that tire goes flat, not saying any of you is, but like that moment that it happens to you, are you going to look and go, okay, how's this going to work out? You know, and start thinking and thanking for how it goes. Either that you had a change of clothes in the car, if you had to sweat through them to pump up that tire, I don't know what goes on. Or if somebody pulled up and they just had something kind to say, or actually they stopped to help you and something was put in your heart to share with them. We don't even know, but you began to see about the tuning of the streams, about dancing in the mystery and the movement of life, that it's a lot bigger than just you. Because when we get out of this ping pong competition, completion type state, we get into this whole mindedness, then we're whole. We don't even know what lack or partiality or indecisiveness. We're abiding in the whole, the sphericalness of it, the sphereness of it. And that is when we step into eternity. That's when we have the abiding love, the joy, the peace, the things that keep us seeing clearly and keep the dimensions of life fleshed out, keep it unctuous, juicy, delicious. All right, so I hope that makes sense to you. I'm gonna run through the last bit. So this is the magical mystical moments. Okay, these are friends of mine. I love these because they're so beautiful and creative. And I said, well, so Mercury, I know you have that message that you want to bring in. I said, what's going to represent you? And so this is the deck coming forth for Mercury. Okay. And I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3 because it's number 28. Perfect 10. Can you hear me? All right. That's the fine tuning, because when they start to tune their guitar, you start making noise, hearing where you're at in order to see which way you need to go. Do you need to flatten the string? Do you need to sharpen the string? And you find out where you need to go. And then you go the next string, but you have to back tune, meaning tune it between the 2 strings. So you're able to step it between the 2 to get them to start to speak and harmonize and get on the same page. Okay, from that we seem to take a step to number 30, the white rose of hope. And this is bringing in your hope. Obi-Wan, help us. But this really has a lot to do with that whole-mindedness. This is like that moon, your cosmic mind. When you're aware of yourself, your solarness, who you are and what you're here for and how you operate, that begins to bring in, it aligns with your moon. And so when your moon is aligning and all those frontal lobes, subconscious and unconscious mind, you really start bringing in this energy here. Remember how you'll see yourself clearly and you'll start to understand you've got a good heart. So many times we kick ourselves in the pants about how we didn't see this or how we didn't know it. Well, if you'd known, you'd know, right? Okay, so back off, give yourself a little space, a little room, a little place to grow and develop with some kindness and some love around you. Begin to be your best friend. Begin to be the one who asks yourself for advice, or ask yourself what you would like to do instead of saying should, would, could, have, gonna, this, that, and whatever, and having that bent like you're here to like be forced into something. Life, and like Mercury itself, is wooing us into, inviting us into this dance, into this symphony, into this composition, joining in together. Okay, kind of like striking a chord. But this is very much Black Moon Lilith in the unconscious mind. Our Black Moon Lilith is sometimes not in the most basic of our birth charts, but it has a lot to do with deep sexuality and deep intimacy, because we could just play heavy on the sexual part and think, ooh, what you like to do in your bedroom, because that is one of the calling cards of what your Lilith is. So if you want to know kind of a little bit more about your style or somebody that you love, check out where their Black Moon Lilith is in their chart and look up that zodiac sign Black Moon Lilith, and you'll be like, okay. Now that being said, it also has to do with like the intimacy, the deepness of that connection, being able to make room inside of yourself, inside of your soul, to sit with the space of another, to really receive another person, to be able to see them for who they are, not who you think they are, not what you think they're trying to say, where they're coming from, what they've been through, anything like that. It's really about divining heaven down here on earth, giving that space for a heart to be honored, to be loved, to be seen, and to be received. This is what Mercury is saying, because remember, this is us setting the tone. October 13th to November 3rd, we're riding that flume on into this new season, 200 years of air, okay? And the attitude that we go in with is the energy we're going to proceed forth in. Remember, sink or swim? You're going to see it one way or the other. You're going to see it being stripped down, or you're going to see it being built and decorated. You're going to see it as logical black and white, or you're going to see it fully fleshed out in color. Okay? How are you going to see things? How do you want to see them? Remember when I said treat yourself like your own best friend? Instead of it always having to be the same way, begin a new dialogue with yourself. How do I want to see this? What have I always dreamt of? Some of that high heart in my world is some of the Wizard of Oz, some of the Monsters Inc. is like some of the Velveteen Rabbit. How do I want to see it? Now, I always dreamt of Joy of the World. I didn't know it'd be this channel of tarot cards, but I always believed in our world coloring up like in the Wizard of Oz, going from black and white into color, where there was this amazing story and life that she had to go through while she was there in Oz, but she got to meet people who were really that different from herself, right? Because when we have something uncommon, we realize that we're really just one people, that mind. And it allows the room for the differences, for the colors, for all the crayons in a crayon box. We're all different colors. My niece calls them crayons, by the way. So all the colors of the rainbow, right? And that brings in this, number one, the individuality. Remember we talked about joy being personal. Love is the universal and joy is the personal expression of it. So it's kind of like the higher octave of love. And it's the thing that becomes very personalized, very expressive to us, but also incredibly memorable. And the thing that we can begin to get traction, motivation, live out in our own signature, our own style, and our own color. Okay, and that's what you're talking about here. Ooh, this is very pumpkin season, but it's also the last of the butterflies, the closing out of the butterfly season. Right now, Gulf fritillaries are everywhere where I'm at. They're beautiful little butterflies, and I got to see one erupt one time years ago. And yes, they shed a little drop of blood. It was amazing. It's so beautiful to see them come forward like that. But there's this magic that you hold in your hands, the permission to love and divine yourself, to be seen and to see clearly. That is the choice that is really being made here in the sink or swim. Love and be loved, or continue to struggle and flounder and wrestle and relegate and black and white and wound and be healed, or be the healed one and be wounded, ad infinitum, okay? Or we can really let all that begin to rest and slumber and take peace from that and begin to metamorphose out, just like the butterfly, to move through those stages where butterflies don't have backpacks. They don't carry that information. They're not burdened down by the weight of this world, okay? They're free of that because they travel light, don't they? And generally, they're dipping in and tasting the nectar, the sweetness of life, the joy of life. Because anything that they touch, other pollinators already come by and pollinate as well. So they're just here to inspire, okay? So you're here to inspire us. You're here to inspire us with who you are and how you see yourself, your I amness. Because as you begin to celebrate that beauty, and you begin to truly respect and honor yourself as this divine being, and talk with yourself and listen to yourself about how you want to live this life and what genuinely makes you happy, it changes your voice. Like this whole room has fallen quite soft right now, as I hope it has for you, and that you're able to show the same honor and love and respect to others. Remember, it's not just through a talking voice. It can be through your example, through your source of expression, and honoring the expression of another, giving everybody room, their space on the floor, their postage stamp. I talk about the space that fits right under our feet. Everywhere we go, there we are. We are home. That's our space, okay? And you can begin to love your space, your home, your body that you inhabit. Well, that's been the message from Mercury for now. And as you transition on those chutes and ladders, baby, into 2021, I pray you be well and happy, healthy, and free. Remember to leave comments down below and let me know what's going on with you. And if you haven't been by here before, stop back by and check in with us. Give us another look-see, okay? For those of you returning, I love you as always.